So to answer your question, I like to tell moms and dads, autism is not an emergency. Like, you can pause, and listen to your gut and shut out the noise and stay off Google and Instagram and, find a source that you can trust to kind of work through things and take your time if you need to. You don't have to rush into anything.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Polaris Connection, your podcast that connects parents of autistic children with industry experts and proven results. I am your host, Brad Broyles, and I'm here with my savvy co-host, Nathan Palmer.
I'm not the savvy one. I think we have somebody here with Autism Savvy that might be able to give you a bit more insights than I can.
That's right. We are so excited to have Amber Arrington here with us at the podcast. Thank you so much, Amber, for being here.
I'm so happy to be here, you guys.
Awesome.
This is going to be fun.
Well, and Amber, you have a very unique background, a mom of 6. God bless you. That's yes, a lot right there.
Sure.
But also a mother that also has 4 children on the spectrum with autistic. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Wow. And a fearless advocate, a business builder, the founder also of Autism Savvy, and an author of a book called Not a Typical Motherhood.
And atypical there is one word, not two, right?
Correct.
Thank you for pointing that out, because it's really hard to explain unless they can visually see it.
Right. And what I love about you, Amber, is that you're on a mission to turn the diagnosis into a chance to shine for kids, parents, and family alike. Thank you, Amber, for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we're here to hear your story and Autism Savvy. Tell us real quick a little bit about yourself. Where did you grow up and how did you get to Mesa, Arizona?
Sure. Well, I'm one of those native Arizonans. I guess there's not a lot of us.
Welcome to the club.
Yes.
Nathan's one. I'm not.
You're not.
No,
I'm as desert rat as it gets, 6 generations. So
Wow.
yeah, long history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I grew up in the mountains of Colorado. So
Okay. I never knew that. Yeah. So grew up in Arizona, been married to my sweetheart for 26 years now. We had a really hard time growing our family, so it really took us. It was a journey. That's another story. But over 20 years, we grew our family through adoption and IVF. And I also kind of been a bit of a businesswoman. So I've had business in the lash and brow space. I'm an esthetician. But at this point, I've fully pivoted into, the life I'm living as a mom to 4 autistic kids and supporting parents in the autism space.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, you do a lot of great for the community. So that's, again, why we wanted to have you on. What inspired you to, you wrote a book, you're part of Autism Savvy. Can you tell us a little bit more about that background?
Sure. So I knew I wanted to write a book. In fact, the book that I wrote was not the book I set out to write. I wanted to write a story about how we grew our family over 20 years. And I was going to write that story of hope. And I was part of this women's mastermind where everybody was writing their books. I paid to publish this book. I had a book to write, and it was going to get done in 6 months. I got 3 months in of thinking I was going to write that book, and I just was not feeling it. That was not the book that was ready to come out at that time. But I was like, I already paid to write a book. What else do I know a lot about? I've got to write something. And it was autism at that point. I had just had my 3rd child diagnosed. And because my first one, I'd been navigating autism for a decade or so, I knew a little about a lot of things as far as navigating in the space of securing funding and services. And so I thought I'll write about autism. And as I began to research to write that book, I learned so much more about autism that I had been raising a son who was not diagnosed until he was 12 years old officially with a medical autism diagnosis. And at the time that I wrote this book, he was already out of the house living in a group home. So I'd been raising an autistic child for whatever it was, 19 years at that point. And I realized writing the book that I knew nothing about autism.
Wow. So you were already experiencing it, but not really able to identify it. Wow.
I just fully misunderstood what autism was.
What was some misunderstandings that you learned that you had before that you're like, oh, yep, that was an issue?
I mean, the biggest thing is kinds of brings me a lot of shame to admit.
Well, and I'm not trying to bring up shame.
No, that's okay.
But I think our parents can relate.
Yeah.
That you're helping others hey, this is what I used to do, but now I've been able to identify it.
Well, my oldest son is now 21. And so If I had him to do over again, I would have him diagnosed autistic by age 3. He didn't receive the diagnosis till age 12. And so I ended up spending so much of my time trying to change him. Like, that's my regret. I was trying to like make him quote unquote normal.
I think that's common. Like
Yeah.
that's a shared story we hear a lot. So you're not alone in that. And I think it's funny, one of our last episodes or two before, we talked about, learning to be a parent. Brad, I think you apologized for screwing up your first kid.
I
think
totally
we all
screwed
think
up
that
my
we mess up our
oldest boy.
oldest. So you're in good company.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, because I know we're not alone in that. And now it's a little easier. There's more awareness now. But yeah, that was really tricky. I didn't understand much about neurodiversity, and I didn't understand the different ways that they learn, and that they literally just kind of have a different neurotype that's meant to be embraced and like met with compassion. And there's so much I didn't understand, but I do now.
Well, that's great. I mean, again, the purpose of our podcast is to connect like-minded, right? So there's a lot of families, a lot of parents who probably feel like you at that moment, and now they're seeing that change. So you give them a lot of hope. So with your journey, so tell us more about your journey with autism. So with your oldest son, he got diagnosed. Was it 12?
Yeah.
You said.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What led to that diagnosis? What was the experience that you had? Like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm forcing him. That's not working. There's something more.
It was such a journey, and you read about it more in the first half of my book. I do kind of
Chronologically.
I lay it out chronologically. Yeah. The journey I went through those first 3 kids' diagnoses and getting their services in place, and what I was feeling and how they were presenting and all that. But to summarize, it was that bit by bit, I was piecing together kind of this cocktail of diagnoses that he had, which first presented by age 4 as like anxiety. And then later it was he was hyper impulsivity. It was ADHD basically. And then somewhere along the way, it was learning disabilities too. And then we got medications going, and like we could get that hyperness and that impulsivity down a bit, but then there were these other behaviors would rise to the top. Now, when he was going through being diagnosed, you wouldn't get an ADHD and an autism diagnosis at the same time. They wouldn't do it, which makes a lot of sense as to like, they didn't recognize it that way. They didn't understand how commingled that they typically are actually. So yeah, it was just a big journey that I was.
About what year would this be?
Maybe 2013-ish. Because I know they changed the DSM right around 2013, where they plucked, things used to be designated differently, Asperger's, and they made it an autism spectrum. It was right around that time that I was going through figuring out his diagnoses. And because if I would have got him diagnosed back when I first started, he would have been diagnosed as Asperger's.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting journey.
It's crazy how much we've learned as a society, and the medical research that's been coming out that helps better diagnose these children so we can help them. But keep going.
Yeah. So anyway, I think it was just that we still had these like behaviors and these experiences with him that were still causing him lots of issues in the home that we didn't know what it was. We're like, we have all these things, but what else? There's something else. And so I just kind of ended up pushing, and the school finally got on the same page with me. And then I just went ahead at some point and got that medical diagnosis, and they agreed that he met criteria. So he was 12 when that happened.
Okay. And then how did that shift your family dynamics? So you got the diagnosis, like how did you feel about it? How did that impact your family?
I think it was just validating to kind of have, I don't know how else to say it, a label, to be able to, a new lens to see him through, to realize a lot of the things that were going on were not a result of our bad parenting or him being a bad kid.
Well, at some point you go, I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. Yeah.
So it was really kind of like a calming.
Yeah, that was a diagnosis that we wanted. That like, we wanted that validation. And then I felt like now I have something to work with. I can start to try to, approach him in a different way.
Now, as a parent, and I can share the same thing. So my oldest, same thing. He's on the spectrum. Took us a while because you don't know what you don't know. We didn't have anything to compare him to or with, and so I understand the frustration on it. But we only had to go through it once, and I remember navigating what our service is, what is DDD, what's all like trying to figure out that journey. We got lucky, I think, in a sense that we found our way through that course over the period of 1 to 2 years. But you've done it 4 times. And I mean, if you asked me today to go back, hey, you've done it once, you know how to do it again, right? I'd say no. It was a blur. What have you been able to do with that experience? And bless you for having 4 and being a mother of that, and still finding time to write a book and run an organization that helps other parents. Like, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how has that kind of shaped what you've done?
Well, I can say that having gone through all of that with Tyson, he really taught me how to be an advocate. So when we had our miracle babies 20 years into our marriage, and then I started this one day when we realized, like, she's not talking. She's not saying mom and dad. She's not acknowledging her baby sister. Like, maybe something is going on, and we were in denial for a long time. That when we got that diagnosis in place, I knew what to do. I knew to get the early intervention in place. I knew to apply for DDD and Altex. Like, I knew how to search out the right kind of schools, and I found an ABA-based preschool before Polaris existed that was a great fit for that daughter. And that diagnosis was a shock. I did not. That's a long story, but so I wasn't excited for that diagnosis. That was a gut punch. And then a year later, on the same exact day, April 29th, 2021, and then April 29th, 2022, my baby was diagnosed autistic as well. When she wasn't showing signs, in my opinion, she was meeting her milestones, and she ends up, I call it her accidental diagnosis, because I didn't think that she met the criteria.
Okay.
But because I was trying to get her tested in to be a typically developing peer at the ABA-based preschool with my other daughter, she bombed the ADOS.
Really?
Yes. And I didn't even know I was walking into an ADOS. I didn't realize what it was. And then, yeah. So that was a surprise. But at the same time, when I started to see a few things with the littlest one, and I would be like, honey, she's toe walking, my husband would be like, well, if she's autistic, we know what to do, which was true.
That's crazy. So you went from one child being diagnosed, which was a relief. The next one was a shock. And the other one was unexpected.
Yeah. And then the fourth one was 18 years delayed, late diagnosed, my sweet little daughter that's 18 now. Yes. And bear in mind, for me, these are not even all my own biological kids. Like, I have one from one birth mom, autistic, another from another birth mom, autistic, and my 2 IVF babies.
But I guess that prompts the question, right, is that's a lot. And then you pivot somehow and you start this thing, Autism Savvy. What is that?
So Autism Savvy is the company I built around the book I wrote, essentially. I knew that I was writing this book, and I knew I wanted it to help a lot of people. It's like the book that I wish I had been handed at the psychologist's office the day that we got that diagnosis, when nobody knows what to do or really wants to turn to a big old organization to try and get help. That's confusing. Like, it's the book that's your I don't know, mom bestie or an old friend, like, is going to sit next to you on the couch with her arm around you and say, like, look, I know where you're at. I know how you're feeling, and this is what autism really is, and this is all we're going to do, step by step. I described the book a combination of, like, Chicken Soup for the Soul and Autism for Dummies. Like, it really lays out. Some of your audience might not be familiar with Chicken Soup for the Soul, but I knew if I was going to write this book, it wouldn't sell itself. I don't mean sell. I'm not trying to get rich off the book, but I knew that people wouldn't know about it if I didn't essentially build a company around it.
Right.
So that's how I started Autism Savvy.
And then going back, you mentioned earlier, is it like what prompted writing the book? It sounds like you were at an event of some type, or you were working on something to tell a story. And then of that story, here comes this book. What was the biggest driver, other than, I know you want to help people, but was there anything in particular that you're like, you know what, I know I can do this good, and I'm gonna write this book?
I just feel like I had enough experience at that point to make it not scary for other people, and to kind of lay out a step-by-step plan of what you do in what order. And also to, like, soften the emotional blow that we feel when we might first get that diagnosis.
What are some common emotions that you would feel that you're like, hey, it's going to be okay. You're going to feel this way, and this is how you deal with these emotions?
Like, what's some common advice I would give? I like to just kind of say, and this is why, I'll come back to it. Most of us, when we're given that diagnosis, we're given nothing but the diagnosis. And if we're lucky, like me, you might get a Xerox copy packet of ABA providers in your area. And good luck. And that is it. You don't even know to ask questions about ABA, but what else is what OT, like speech? But is that some people say this is good and some people say this is bad. Like, I felt like we needed a resource that would lay out all of the options in a very neutral way so that parents could just start to synthesize the information in one trusted source, and make their own decisions that are best for them. And so to answer your question, I like to tell moms and dads, autism is not an emergency. Like, you can pause.
Sure.
Yeah. And listen to your gut and shut out the noise and stay off Google and Instagram and, find a source that you can trust to kind of work through things and take your time if you need to. You don't have to rush into anything.
Is because now that you're experiencing with 4 different children with autism, is there always a trusted resource for all of them, or are they all unique and they all need different types of resources for them?
Well, they all need different things.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
They do all need different things. And I don't know where else I'd point somebody to. Okay, like we have a good, what is it? The Autism Society of Phoenix?
Autism Society of Greater Phoenix.
Yeah, they have some great resources as far as they have lots of great resources. So I might point somebody there in Arizona. But in general, I think my book's a good resource.
Right.
Other than that, it's just like you need to understand autism high level and then be able to take your particular child, think about what their needs are today, and match a service to that need, child by child. It is going to be individualized, for sure.
So you've alluded to something a couple of times that you misunderstood autism or what autism actually is. And, we've talked about this in the past. Really, what is it? And there's a lot of opinions and insight, but I'd love to hear your take. Amber, what is autism to you? What does that mean?
Autism, to me, it's 2 things. It is a disability and it's a neurotype. And it's tricky because the word disability has a negative connotation to it. Mm-hmm. And there was a part of me for a while that was like, so my daughter that's 6.5 right now, I've intentionally taught her about her autism. So she knows she has an autistic brain. She's so proud of it. She talks about it all the time. And there was a time where I was like, how do I break it to my daughter that in her mind, like her superpower is a disability? I think I even posted that somewhere. Ooh, I got raked through the coals because you are ableist if you don't want to talk about the word disability. Like, it should be neutral. It's not a bad thing. So what? Someone has a disability. And so, yeah, to me, it's both. It's a neurotype to be supported and accommodated. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it should be treated the same if somebody finds out they have ADHD or that they're blind or they're deaf. It's like, okay, great. Let's go get the support and services and move on. It's not the end of the world.
It's funny because I can ask that question 100 times and I'm getting 100 different responses. Some go into the biological aspects, others into the psychological aspects. Sure. It's interesting, you go between disability and superpower, and regardless of what your religious affiliation is. I was having a conversation with someone on the spectrum, and like, hey, in the next life, I don't want to lose my autism. Like, they see it as this thing they want to keep, as this uniqueness about themselves, like they'd be losing part of themselves. Yeah. And so, yeah, the framework of how we approach it, it's just nice to get different perspectives. And I think it illustrates why they changed the diagnosis into what it is. It's a spectrum.
Yes.
Right? It is not just one singular thing. And what the boundaries of that are, I think we're still discovering. But that's kind of, I think, what makes it so intriguing. Right? It's something that we're continuing to learn about, to discover, to explore. And in that, I think, is where we find some of the answers and the support that we're looking for. So for those that are making that journey of discovery, that's a dialogue I want to have all day long.
Every day. And it's, we've explained this before. Parents come to Polaris Academy, especially newly diagnosed, they're new to it, and they look at us almost like a hospital. Like, hey, fix my child so I can put my child in. They come out in 2 months and now they're so-called normal. And you're just like, no, your child's not broken, like not even close. In fact, I love using that word superpower because there's a superpower there that they have that in some ways I wish I had. You know what I mean? Like these kids are incredible. So kind of going back to your experience, what advice or first step, like in your book, what are some specific steps or first actions you would recommend for parents? Like, I love how you said, hey, you don't need to do anything immediately. Like you're not, your house is not on fire. So what are some immediate actions, first actions that you would recommend?
I think a lot of it has to do with finding out what in my opinion, you get the diagnosis, you sit with it, you just start processing it, you let yourself feel whatever you're going to feel, and you don't judge your feelings. But then there's getting down to business. So what access do I have to what financial supports do I have? So to me, it's then figuring out, all right, what will my insurance cover? What's my state, Medicaid situation, the waiver situation, figuring out a special education evaluation. And does my state have ESA? Things like that, like figuring out that plan. I like to say you need to know the hand that you're dealt so you know which cards you can play. I feel like that takes a lot of pressure off. What you gotta put in the time to figure out what your resources are so that you know what's available to your child. And then based on your particular financial picture, so to speak, once you have all that data and what your child actually is struggling with or what you feel like they need support with the most right now, then you start to match services to your child.
Okay. Do you work with as far as like services, do you work with a specific doctor on those type of decisions? Is that a decision just between you and your husband? Like, how do you know, sometimes our parents feel like, okay, I got to get this right.
Yeah.
How do I know I'm doing this right? Is there room for like, okay, I might have messed up over here and that's okay. Or this, like, how do you navigate that?
I don't think I see what you're saying. There's not one place to go to make sure that you're doing it right. I wish that existed. I think it's just allowing yourself to become informed about what is available to you, and then putting together a personalized plan for your child and your family. I don't know one way. There's not going to be a doctor that walks you through that. Hopefully you can find some good organizations like a nonprofit in your area or an autism mom friend that's been walking the path for a decade or so ahead of you and make sure that you're on the right path that way. That would be my thoughts.
That's wonderful. And then, so with your book, I know you said that kind of started your business. Like, tell us how you went from a book to a business and kind of your focus of Autism Savvy.
Okay. So with the idea of when I was going to publish the book, I thought I was going to publish it during April Autism Awareness Month. And I thought, well, what else can I do here that would be helpful? So I kind of launched, number one, by starting some social media accounts, which I hadn't done before. So that's been a fun journey. So getting those going, and then I decided to start a summit. So I put on the Autism Savvy Summit during the month of April that year as well. This has now been a year and a half ago.
Okay.
So we brought together 25 experts, and we put on this summit for free for parents. It was called the Autism Savvy Summit, the While You Wait edition. So for parents that were stuck waiting for diagnosis or stuck waiting for services, I brought in the speech therapists, the BCBAs, the occupational therapists, the psychologists, and they gave presentations so that parents could understand high-level things that they could start to do to work with their own child while they're stuck in the wait. So I put on the summit, and then I had a membership, and I don't have that membership anymore. But it was interesting when I started posting on social media, I came across certain topics that would pop off for me. And they were potty training, funding, and PDA, pathological demand avoidance. Yeah. At this point, I've completely pivoted Autism Savvy to be focused on PDA.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So tell our audience, what is pathological demand avoidance? What's PDA? And it's not the PDA you're thinking about.
Yeah.
And then also why the shift, because there's got to be a story behind
yes.
that.
Oh, thank you. That's important. So my youngest daughter, in my opinion, fits the profile for PDA.
Now, why do you say in your opinion that way? Because there was some emotion for in my opinion.
Yeah, because PDA is not an official diagnosis. It's not in the DSM. It's more widely recognized in the UK. But it's considered to be a profile on the autism spectrum of autism. Some say it's a nervous system disability. And so it's our kiddos that, and a lot of times they do have a lot of ability to talk, like they're very verbal. They might seem very social. They might seem not I don't know how else to say it, but they might seem not typically autistic, even though there's no such thing as typically autistic. But there are common traits that would lead you to get somebody evaluated to have autism. And I told you, I didn't think my daughter was meeting criteria for that. So I was shocked. There were some subtle things that led to her diagnosis. But for her, it was really just this rigidity, this inflexibility, to a degree of which the typical child does not display. Like, I'm a mom to 6 kids. My 5 other kids are not quite like this one. And so there was something going on. Either I was a really bad parent and I forgot how to parent, or there was something else that I needed to address. And I discovered pathological demand avoidance, AKA persistent drive for autonomy.
Wow.
Have you not heard that
no,
one?
I've never heard that one.
People like that one better because it's nicer.
It's funny because it's contentious in part because, and you wouldn't know this, Amber, but I think our last podcast guest, Rachel Krupe, was talking about the functions of behavior. And we went through what those commonly are. There's a 5th one that's not recognized, but in her opinion is a strong one, and that is autonomy. And so it fits right in with that definition of PDA as well. And it's one, again, that doesn't get the attention that it probably deserves.
Well, it's estimated that 1 in 5 autistic children would fit this profile. So and if you don't know what's going on, you really just think you're failing every day.
Well, and what is the difference of the profile? Like, I know you mentioned few. A lot of techniques is ABA driven.
Right.
Okay. Now, that's a lot of the techniques. But then with PDA, what are the techniques that are driven with more PDA?
It's like the opposite of ABA. That's the tricky part. Like, it is not going to be about pushing to build tolerance. It's not going to be about rewards and sticker charts. And like, they don't respond the same way as maybe the typical autistic child would respond. They perceive any demand or the idea of a demand. It's like there's a tiger standing in front of them ready to attack them. They're in fight or flight or freeze or fawn. So they have these really elevated nodes. It's a default node to everything. And then it's funny things like the child, I'll give you this example. My daughter's obsessed with the Disney princesses, let's say. She was for a while. So I find a Disney princess shirt that I know she'd love. But if I were to walk up to her and be like, here, I got you this Disney princess shirt, she would probably say, no, I hate it, and like run away. It's because she's perceiving a demand that I want her to like wear it or put it on or do something with it. And so it's learning what's really going on and seeing your child through that lens and like pivoting the way that you respond or the way you present things.
Okay, so listen, there may be some parents listening going, I wonder if my child fits this profile. What are some of the pivots that you've made that might be helpful to a parent that maybe suspects this is happening with their kid?
You know how you like go full in on research and like your mind is swimming and you maybe haven't synthesized it all eloquently yet? That's kind of where I'm at. But I don't know if you've heard of this term low demand parenting.
We have now.
Yeah,
okay.
we did. Yeah, now.
Low demand parenting. I mean, essentially what's worked for our child has been to kind of look at things that are happening and seeing where we can let go of things that we can let go of. Meaning like, she doesn't want her hair brushed before school, or she doesn't want to wear any of the clothes that you pick in the morning. So like, okay, I can let her go with messy hair to school. If that's not, I don't need to elevate her panic because I need something to get done. It's like, what can I let go of? Where can I lessen demand so that her nervous system isn't being activated all the time?
Okay, and that's almost separating what are my needs as a parent versus my child's needs, right? What needs am I imposing on them that maybe aren't necessarily really quote unquote needs, right?
Which I think we could use for any child and
absolutely.
for all parenting.
That's why I kind of made the highlight. Like it works with them. I think it works in general.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's a good introspective question of how much of the burdens of my child's lives are placed by me as a parent, right? Versus things that they actually need to be developing in.
It requires a lot of learning and a lot of unlearning. And I think it's helping me be a better person and a better parent all around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, that's the more that we study autism or PDA, it's like not only we focus so much on the child, but a lot of it is just self-reflecting of what we can do better as parents, like that low demand parenting. I love that. You're like, okay, maybe it's okay if she just goes to school with a messy hair today. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, we're all right. That's an expectation I have. But you may be doing that now, it helps them throughout the day.
It's almost hard to be self-aware of that sometimes, because the question really is her messy hair impacting her or me? Right?
Exactly.
Am I having a problem that my child's hair is messy? Is that impacting my view of how people look at me or them? And really it's distinguishing the two, right? Giving them autonomy, but also the ability to self-direct, which is something that we want for all of our kids.
Well, if you had to rewrite your book, would you add more PDA techniques and advice? And
I think it requires a different book. I would mention it. I need an epilogue where my other daughter gets her autism diagnosis at 18, and I discover that my baby fits the PDA profile. I would definitely tease it because it's something I want parents to know to research.
One thing I love about you, Amber, is that you're bringing out just such an authentic viewpoint of the journey through autism and now through PDA. A lot of parents just want to know everything right now.
Yeah.
They're like, I need to know everything from start to finish. And yes, we have great tools and resources, but one thing, looking at you, like this was a journey, and you labeled your book so well, Not a Typical Motherhood, like
it's atypical.
Like, right, exactly.
Exactly.
So it just, you got it from so many different perspectives, from an older child being diagnosed and then a younger child, and and now you got into the PDA. So what is that kind of the advice with parents, is like, hey, this is a learning, and give yourself some time to learn as you navigate through this, broad space of autism?
I think that would be great advice. It's just like to stop trying to think so far ahead that you have anxiety through the roof and you're so stressed out because what if, and what? And instead just like be with your child where they are, who they are today, and like live in the moment and know that you're on a journey. Like there is no destination here.
Amber, I'm curious. I would love your thoughts on this. Now I only have one kid on the spectrum, right? But even with that, and with the things I've had to learn and how to not just pivot expectations, but also parenting techniques, I feel like it's made me more effective with my other 3 kids who are not on the spectrum. Has that been your experience as well?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, my other kiddos that are not on the spectrum are a bit older at this point, and they're real independent and real self-sufficient. I don't have to do a lot of parenting with them anymore. But in general, I think I've had to step back and approach every situation with a lot more like compassion. And so for that, yeah, I would say, yeah.
Cool.
So now with Autism Savvy, you tell us more about the community that you're building, the reactions that you're having, and some success stories that you've experienced.
Yeah, for the first year or so, I definitely was attracting a lot of those mamas brand new to autism. And, they might have read my book, they might have attended my summit, they might have joined my Infinity Mom Club membership. And so there was a lot of just kind of coaching them through how to get services and funding in place. I feel like that's where I could serve the best. And I would still be focused there if I didn't feel like things had shifted so much as far as kind of what's just happening in the space of, I don't know, politics this year and things that are kind of changing. And so everything's changing there. And it's fundamentally, the idea is the same as far as mapping out like, where am I funding? Where are my resources? Getting that in place, because I got to watch these moms go from, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. My child was just diagnosed. What does this mean? What do I do? And I got to kind of hold their hand through like, hey, things are going to be okay. So take this step first. Find out if you have this. Find out if you have that. Then they finally like got their kid in speech. They got their kid in AAC device. They got their kid in ABA. And like a year later to hear back from them like that their kid is starting to thrive. Their kid is maybe starting to talk. Like they found their new normal. And that's a lot of what I've been able to help other parents do. And that brings me a lot of joy. And so from there, I have got so much feedback when I am posting just stories of what I'm experiencing with PDA and my youngest daughter, that now I just post stories and content there. I'm creating freebies and offers and content to help parents that are like, wait, I think this is my kid. Is it my kid? And then also, what do I do? How do I what do I do? Where do I go for more information? And I'm creating resources around that.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so where do you think the journey, like, what do you think PDA is going to take us? It's the United States, the way I understand it, doesn't really recognize PDA. It's really come more from our friends across the pond, from England. where do you think PDA is going to be in the next few years?
Everybody is acting like it's this brand new thing that we never heard of, but it's been being studied since the 1980s. So it's taken a while to kind of seep into mainstream, but I really hope it's going to go from parents and some professionals starting to see that there's this thing. I feel like a lot of times our PDA kiddos would have been slapped or are being slapped with the label of ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. And I don't like that. I don't like that because it doesn't describe the underlying reasons for what is going on with the child. It just is a list of, traits that they say this child is defiant. And do you know what the solve is for that? Fix your parenting. So we need help, but professionals, regular school staff, teachers, principals, they don't recognize this or they don't subscribe to it. And we need them to.
Yes.
We need to start to open everybody's eyes to what else could be going on here and how else, because call it what you want. There's clearly something here.
Yes.
And we need to figure out a different way to support these people, because I hear from autistic adults all over the world that have identified themselves as PDA and the trauma and the burnout that they've experienced because no one understood, right?
Well, that's a good perspective all around. I mean, it's natural instinct when you get a diagnosis of any kind for your kid to go, how do I fix this? How do I treat this? What resources are out there? How do I help them as if they're the only player in the game? Reality is it's a chance for us to upgrade ourselves. Parenting is in itself a resource for our kids. And it's not that there's, again, just this magic treatment out there that we find that all of a sudden makes everything better. Yes, there's supports, but the biggest drive for our kids is changing ourselves, how we can be better in their lives and more supportive. And that's a journey that I think we should be excited to take, because at the end of the day, it makes us better parents, better people, more empathetic and more able to really just function ourselves as individuals, not just, these limited beings with kids that have all these troubles. And that's a dreamy and glittery, how do you say it? Dreary world to live in.
Yes.
Whereas if I can go, no, I've got the chance here and the unique insight to become better myself, then it's a journey of discovery and growth.
Right. And that's one thing, that's what I love about what you're doing, Amber, is you're helping empower other mothers, other people in your situation. Hey, here's some great resources. This is what we can do. What's the next step with Autism Savvy? You had a summit. What else? What are the resources that Autism Savvy can offer our parents?
Well, at this point, I do have a resource. It's the Autism Funding Workshop. So I have that that helps parents kind of map out that plan for themselves, like I've been talking about. I obviously have the book. And then moving forward, I'm putting together lots of supports around PDA coming out. I'm actually just finishing one today. That'll be live next week. And then I'm pushing towards a free webinar at the beginning of 2026. And some supports there for parents learning to become fluent in PDA, so to speak. Yeah.
Well, and it's a balance. So like at Polaris, we got involved with PDA too. And so we have ABA, we're blending it with PDA, and we're kind of, in a way, working with both approaches.
PDABA.
Yeah, PDABA.
At some point, the acronyms just get too long.
You might as well start saying that. But but it's funny, Nate, like you say that as a blend, but there is a pushback.
Yeah.
There is a pushback.
Why is there such a big pushback that's like, no, you must do ABA, or no, you must do PDA approaches? Like, why is it such a big, why do they avoid it rather than embracing it and say, okay, for one child, we're going to use PDA, one child, we're going to use ABA techniques? Why is it such a clash?
Well, first of all, you have to remember that there's a lot of debate around ABA in general. Mm-hmm. It has been very harmful to a lot of people in the past and continues to be in the wrong hands. Mm-hmm. So there's that. And ABA is compliance-based and behavioral strategies, and those fundamentally are not the right strategies for a PDA kiddo.
Sure.
So I could see how somebody, a PDA expert from the UK, would be like, no ABA. If they're in the same sentence, I'm out. But I think you're right. We need to be open to what is the best strategy for this child.
Yes.
And you're the only school probably that exists that my child's teacher got sent last year to the PDA conference over October break. Do you know what that means to me? Because if my daughter, like, there's nowhere else that
Yes.
my daughter could go and be. And listen, I don't know if at the end of the day she's going to still end up in burnout, because essentially going to school every day is full of demands.
Sure.
Even with the PDA understanding and the PDA lens. But that your school and your staff is embracing this, that you're like cutting edge with this, is just huge.
Well, we appreciate that, Amber. And like, and for our listeners, we got involved with Journey with PDA. We went to their conference. In fact, we can also make.
Yeah. I was going to say you should. I mean, it's pertinent. We're going to be hosting the PDA conference in Mesa, Arizona.
Well, and they
next
did make the announcement there at their summit, and I think one of your daughter's teacher just went out a few weeks ago to Oklahoma. To do the PDA conference, and for our listeners, we ask if you want to know more about PDA. Obviously, be with Autism Savvy, and then also Journey with PDA is another great resource for them as well. They'll be here next year.
I'll be there.
Well.
Yeah.
And just, because there's just so much to learn. And that's what I love about this podcast. Like, every time we do a podcast, Nate, I feel like I learn more than our audience sometimes, because this is such great information.
Yeah.
Amber, what would you, kind of as we wrap up, what are kind of your advice to parents,
Okay.
On the spectrum, like things that you would say, hey, either newly diagnosed or we're kind of in the middle of it. What advice would you give our parents?
I feel like some of the best advice I could give, besides that autism is not an emergency or autism is not a tragedy, which are good pieces of advice, but I would say it's to not take no for an answer. And that's a big one, because I'm talking whether you're on a wait list for a diagnosis, whether you're on wait list for speech therapy or occupational therapy, or the school you want your kid to go to. If something's not working, to like always keep digging, always keep calling, call for the cancellation. Don't take note. There's always another workaround to anything you need for your child. I just believe that with my whole heart. I think that's the only reason I've been able to get my kids what they need very quickly in every situation, is because I've just learned to be resourceful. If somebody says, okay, well, we just have, we have a 1 year wait, I'll put you on the list. No. I'm running to the Facebook group and I'm saying, all right, who else do you know that takes this insurance that can get somebody in? Or I'm calling every single day for a cancellation. Like, if ABA and OT and speech is triggering your autistic child, what else is there?
Yes.
Is PDA something we should research? Because there's always something else. Always dig deeper and don't take no for an answer.
I love it, Amber. I love who you are, and I love what you bring, and I totally support you, and we love what you bring to Polaris, and your books have been amazing. We ask everybody to go and be part of Autism Savvy as much as you can. You're a wonderful resource, so thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. They can follow me at Autism Savvy on TikTok and Instagram, and then we can connect that way.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Thank you for making us part of your day. Please don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss a conversation that inspires connection. I also want to say thank you to our producer, Jesse Palmer, to our wonderful director, Dallin Davis. Thank you, Nathan, for being here as well. And what a great conversation.
Thanks, Brad. Always excited to learn more. We've been doing this for a while, and it seems like every time there's more to learn.
Yes, there is. So until next time, let's do some good.